This week's scenario is Recon 2 from the 2017 Steamroller packet. This scenario does have Killbox Artifice in effect, and consists of flags which can be controlled for 1 CP by solos, warcasters, and warlocks, rectangular zones which can be controlled by war beast, war jacks, warcasters, and warlocks, and an objective which can be destroyed for 1 CP. Victory conditions consist of winning 5 more control points than your opponent or caster assassination.
Hey everybody, Taodark here. So I had to take a couple months off to deal with some things and decided to come back to the channel a little bit rusty, so I apologize in advance, but I figured if I haven't played for a while, probably best to just pull out my Butcher 3 list that I've always kind of used, slightly modified. I've got Yuri in here, but it's still the Behemoth, Juggernauts. I've got a Destroyer on one of the Bad Santa solos, and then the double Eliminators, because I love those to no end. But I want to see what Yuri does in this list, so we'll see how that plays out.
Pokey here, and today I'm running the Trollbloods that I have been working on in converting to a Northkin Kriels. We kind of nicknamed this the Tuffalo Wild Wings, using the Band of Heroes theme. And it's a Jarl, as you can tell. 2 units of Tuffalo, a max unit of champions with Skaldi, Horthol, Fellcaller, and a unit of stones. My idea for this deployment was to pretty much have the Glacier King in the center, to pretty much allow him the opportunity to go to either zone, whichever one I could get him into. Easily, because him and my caster Jarl are the only 2 that are going to be able to score in this one for me, except for the flag, which would be either the Fellcaller or Horthol, which would be a shame to have to keep them in the back. But if that's how I have to do the flag, then that's how I have to do the flag.
Khador, turn 1. So I ended up winning the roll to go first and Shears to go first, which resulted in my opponent giving me the right side of the board, which is actually going to be a problem for me. So the lake that we have just in front of my left-hand zone, we're treating the whole thing, the dirt area and the water, as difficult terrain. And that's going to be a problem for my battle group. Khador Jackson not exactly known for being fast. They're also not exactly known for having any Pathfinder, really. So in order for me to engage into that zone, I'm going to have to kind of move around it. But my intent is that I'm going to be putting the solos into the zone for early contesting, and then I'm going to follow up the battle group. Battle group will take up the central position with the Juggernaut, 2 Juggernauts and Ruin in the center, and then the Demolisher will go up to the top, and then Behemoth will go down to the bottom, providing me some range into those zones, as well as being contesting / scoring potentials. That getting around that woods, though, is going to kind of limit my ability to get up the board, because I have to kind of go or skirt around it, so I don't get that linear 8 straight forward for them. The rest of the battle group does, and we're just going to kind of see where it goes from here.
Turn 1. Well, Taodark advanced kind of cautiously, a little bit more cautiously than I thought he would have. I would have really thought he would have ran up the field hoping to get more of a table presence on me. Which then makes me wonder how far should I really advance. So right now I'm measuring out threat ranges with Energizer and Boundless Charge and all the other fun stuff that Khador normally has in their hip pocket for their warjacks. So what you saw me kind of pointing out there was I was trying to figure out what the distance was that Ruin can charge, so that way I'm not getting anything close enough that he can charge on turn 2 for Khador. The downside, though, is he also has Yuri up there on the top side, and I have to worry about Yuri because Yuri doesn't care about that forest in the middle. That forest in the middle is going to hopefully be a big help to me in how I can advance. Because if I can get up far enough and get myself protected behind that forest, I should have a pretty good table presence for when I need to pop my feet. So I activate Jarl first, and then he ended up putting up Quicken on the champions, because the thought process is that way pretty much the entire army is going to be speed 7. So now the 1 unit of Tough Low, they take the press forward order to run, and once again I'm just trying to make sure that I get them as far up the table as I can without putting them at risk for being charged by one of Taodark's jacks, because that just won't help me out very much at all. So then that's when I kind of did the same thing on the lower zone with the 2nd unit of Tough Low, advance them, and then it's kind of hard to see through the forest, but Horthol is actually touching my flag right now. He is actually back there holding onto my flag, hoping that I can, keep anybody from getting too close and allowing me to score points on my next turn for holding my flag. So, and then of course the Glacier King, he advances up. He has nobody really to shoot for his range. He comes up, he puts his Animus up, and then the stone activates. It moves forward. It does its ability to awaken the ancients or something along those lines, and awaken the stone, and it generated some fury for itself. I didn't pop any of its protective auras.
Khador, turn 2. So the trolls have advanced forward, arguably faster than honestly I was really expecting. I know that they're fast. I completely forgot about the combo of putting Quicken on the champions to basically get them to the same speed as the Tough Lows. This is an extremely fast list, something that I'm not necessarily used to with trolls. I'm used to trolls being very much like Khador and just that lumbering force that moves forward. He's already got a presence in the zone, so I know immediately the first thing I'm going to need to do is contest the zone and set myself up for scoring. So on my top zone, I'm going to commit Yuri to my flag, and he can just sit there. It puts him in a situation where he's not only scoring the flag for me defensively, but he's also prepping himself, because that wood is in the center. He gives 2 craps nothing about. So I'm waiting for a scenario where he's going to, put the stone behind the woods, leave the stone kind of defensively there so it has an aura over most of the field, most of the zones, and then Yuri can just go in and just start land blasting the stone and all of those with Thresher. That, or if I get really lucky, he puts Jarl behind the woods thinking he's safe, and Yuri again goes after him. So what I'm going to end up doing is with the Eliminators, when they get engaged, they have duelists, so they go extremely high in the defense, and what I'm going to do is basically engage him so that his Tough Low at the top have to deal with this really high defense. Is basically just run up to engage them, have a really high defense, and because they don't have the charge, they're not going to get the additional dice from their the Tough Low from being cavalry. So I'm basically hoping that by engaging them, I'm going to prevent them from getting to Yuri, which allows him to score defensively, but also allows basically just gum them up. Like, honestly, if these 2 Eliminators can hold up half of the Tough Low unit, cool. Like, you've earned your points. Okay, you hold them up for a turn or 2. I'm advancing my jacks up. I put most of my battle groups still central because I'm kind of curious as to where the Gargantuan and the champions are going. And I want to prep for dealing with them. I'm looking for my Juggernauts to go after the champions, and then I'm saving my feet for the Gargantuan, because I'm looking at a scenario where I'm not going to be able to pull the Gargantuan with impending doom, but if I can get Butcher into range where he goes in on the Gargantuan, or maybe he pops feet and feeds fuel to Ruin and the Juggernauts, and then they can go in on the Gargantuan, and then he can just feed to put him back up to stack, then cool, that works there. But I'm kind of leveraging Butcher 3's feat, as this is going to be a feat to kill the Gargantuan. How is either through battle group being fed or Butcher being delivered in some way and killing the Gargantuan. On the bottom side, Behemoth goes in and takes his gunshot and starts doing some damage. The very first one drifts, and I believe the second one's up picking up a one of the Tuffaloes. And then, just like with the top zone, my Eliminators at the bottom are basically going to run in and engage, allowing them to have really high defense and prevent any charging. I'm going to engage the very first Tuffalo, and that is just an effort of making sure that that first Tuffalo doesn't go running into and killing the solo. And then the second one is going to run into the backfield to engage the ones in the back. At the very top, I advance the Demolisher up to take a shot going the zone to prevent any scoring there, and we'll continue on to the next turn.
I ended up losing one of the Tuffalo, and he used the Eliminators to come in and kind of block me out and contest my flag and hold that one unit of Tuffalo back. But his jacks kind of advanced, and they didn't advance very fast. But they did advance up enough to where they could be a potential threat with Energizer and, charging. The Behemoth, sitting way back there, having that range 14 is kind of dangerous for me, because I have to figure out what to do about it, how to get around it. I don't have the speed to get to it. So I'm trying to figure out, do I go ahead and commit the Tuffalo to that, or do I stick with the plan and try to hold the zone, try to keep the zone clear using the Tuffalo. So that's kind of a weird thing to try to figure out for this turn. Well, for the game actually, not just this turn, but for the whole game. I do upkeep Quicken, and all the measurement you see at the top is I'm trying to figure out if there's a way that Jarl, using Magic Bullet, can get close enough to those Eliminators and be able to take them out. Hitting one, then moving over and having the Magic Bullet hit the other one. They are like defense 17 or something, just huge. So I take Jarl, he moves up to make sure I'm in the back arc of the girls. The one girl I'm going to shoot. I'm going to shoot her in the back. And then put the magic bullet up, so I shoot her in the back, I boost it to hit. And then I do enough damage, and then it's a POW 12 that I can't boost for the other one, so I end up killing the other one with the magic bullet because they have really low armor. I think that's like armor 11. And then before I finish my turn, I end up popping Jarl's feet. The thought for that is I just want to be able to reposition my army behind the wall of clouds and hopefully get myself close enough that I can charge next turn when the clouds go away, and then also hopefully have him come forward, have Taodark come forward enough that it will make it worth for me to charge. Unfortunately, where Jarl is located, the cloud on the one I just adjusted, that's as far over as it could go. So now I have a choice of, do I keep that entire unit of Tuffalo safe and just kind of pull them back and tuck them in, or do I kind of leave them out to hang? Well, so that's the dilemma for this one. I did end up casting Tactical Supremacy on Jarl, so at the end of his activation, he did move back 3 inches. And hopefully that will get him far enough back to keep him safe. The little stacks you see actually count as the center of my my clouds. I didn't have enough clouds to put out. The actual the little rings right there. So those are my proxy markers for the center. And the nice thing about my feet and those clouds is that I don't suffer the penalty well, I get to ignore the clouds basically. There's no penalty, but I get to ignore the clouds, and any of his models that are swinging at me, any living models that are swinging at me, are at -2 to their attack rolls. Well, the only thing they really has that's going to swing at me is Yuri or the Butcher, because, you know, the bad Santas, they're way in the back. They're not going to do anything to me anyways. So I take the one unit at the top, because if I can't figure out a way to stop Yuri's going to basically be a solo he can score with. So if I can kill Yuri and then kill the Eliminators on the bottom zone with Horthol in there, I'll get at least a control point this turn. He won't. So that is why the Tuffalo ended up, I had 2 charge out. One charged Yuri and was able to get close enough I could swing and kill him. And then the other one did a they took a bull rush. Basically they did, which is still a charge. And he bull rushed, aka slammed the Juggernaut backwards, hitting Ruin, knocking them both down. And then of course he has follow-up, so it was basically like 2 POW 12s or something like that. Or a POW 14, then followed up by a POW 12. The first one had 3 dice because it slammed into an equal or larger base, into Ruin. And then, you know, he got to do his swings. So what you're going to see is, I rolled out all my damage on the 2 jacks. And then I get my reform, which only those 2 get a reform because only those 2 were successful in making their charges. Everybody else, you know, quote unquote ran. So they're going to stay back in the cloud. The other 2 are up there, still in command range to be protective. The champions, I advanced them up to where they're not in the cloud. They're behind the cloud, so they can't be charged, can't be seen. And they still quicken up. So, you know, hopefully that'll get them in a good spot to where they can charge whatever comes into the zone next turn. Now I activate the bottom unit of Tuffalo, which kind of figured I'm not going to be able to get the distance that I need. Well, I'm not going to be able to kill the chicks, the Eliminators, in the zone that are blocking me in, so I'm just going to take free strikes from them. And they take another bull rush order, or no, a charge order. So the first one charges up, gets to the ½ inch for doing a trample, not a trample, an impact attack. And because Horthol's on the table, they get the ability to they get line breaker, which gives them an additional die on impact attack rolls. And then of course the other ones kind of advance up just enough to keep the one in, you know, everybody in command and charging the Eliminators. So that's pretty much where they all end up moving. They do the swings they can do. I only have 4 because remember last turn he was able to kill off the one with the Behemoth. So I am trying to kill off that one Eliminator, which I was able to with the Tuffalo. And then the other 2 are going to swing, hoping to kill the other Eliminator, but they're not. They weren't able to. And then the rest ended up repositioning. And now the Glacier King advances up to tow the zone, trying to keep him out of the threat range of anything. He puts up his Animus again, and that should net me 1 point for the flag and 1 point for the zone. And he should get no points this turn, so that will end the turn, and I will collect 2 control points.
Khador, turn 3. So I have a giant cloud wall in front of me and cannot see anything but the Glacier King in the back. So, you know, theoretically on the table, Behemoth takes some shots at the Glacier King, but he's so far back that he puts himself in range of getting charged by the champions, so that's out of the equation. That's not something I'm going to do this turn. I lost my solos, so unfortunately we're not going to be able to have Jarl go charging through the woods. Also, he wouldn't even be able to, just because of there's this overlap of woods and whatnot that's happening in the center. I have a proxy base that I was placing out because I was looking at the potential of, is there a way of me getting a charge lane from Butcher, who's behind the wall, onto the Tufflo that is in the cloud, but close enough that if I were to charge that lead Tuffalo, I could then turn around and Impending Doom Jarl in, just do a couple of flashing blades, kill Jarl, and win on assassination. However, because Pokey had actually placed another cloud in front, I don't have a straight line of sight to that Tuffalo that's in the cloud because of the cloud that's in front of it. Had that cloud not been there, I would have been able to get that off. You know, I can Energizer, advance forward, charge, Impending Doom, pull him through. Unfortunately, in order for me to get line of sight on that Tuffalo, I would have to Energizer to the right to get him to be able to see the Tuffalo past the first cloud, but then that reduces my threat range to the point where I don't have that 1 inch to be able to pull Jarl, or to be able to get to the range where Jarl is within the 5 of Impending Doom to be pulled in. So the assassination is completely off the table. Charging, and really anything, is completely off the table because I can't see anything but maybe one Tuffalo on the far right hand side, and then the Tuffalos that are on the left hand side not covered by the wall. So I tend to go into a bit of more of a, okay, I'm going to have to stall for this turn. I need to prep for the following turn. So we've got the Demolisher who's sitting up on the top. He's just kind of sit there. Butcher is kind of hovering over in that section because I can put into a scenario that since Jarl is over on my right side, top side of the screen, I can just kind of sit there, either to sit defensively on my flag and score that, or I can turn around and sit defensively with that whole charge, Energizer, Impending Doom that will force either Jarl to go on the bottom of the screen, or potentially just, you know, kind of not commit himself towards anything that's scoring. And with the fact that the only real scoring potential that he has in his army is either Jarl or the Glacier King, except for the flag, that I can kind of control a scenario dominance. So if I can present Butcher defensively scoring on the flag but a threat to Jarl, then I'll just slowly start gaining points that way. However, that means that I have to lock down the zones in a way that I'm not going to get any sort of scorings going on. I need to clear up things. My right flank is really heavy. My left flank is not, and now that the Glacier King has shifted to the left flank, now I need to get my battle group, my left flank, so bottom of the screen. Now I need to get my battle group engaged, so where that they're going to be threatening champions and Glacier King and all that. So I add Energizer to get everything going, and this is more of an Energizer to, again, put Butcher close, a little bit closer to that zone, prepping for scoring in my following turn, but also to get the jacks forward, because what's going to end up happening is I've fueled up one of the jacks who's going to go in and beat up on the Tuffalos that are in the bottom zone, and then present that the other jack is actually going up to work on the Tuffalo that's into the top zone, because I'm hoping that by killing the two Tuffalos that are in that area, I'm feeding Ruin for the following turn, so that we kill one Tuffalo, Ruin gets a soul. If we can turn around and activate the Juggernaut to kill the next Tuffalo, then we can kill, and Ruin will be fully functional next turn. He'll have his 2 plus his power up. The 2 souls convert. I've got a fully functional Ruin and a Butcher who could feed the 2 other Juggernauts so that they can go in and basically I'm going to counter with my following turn with just Wrecking Face. So the one Juggernaut I do have, I end up sending over into the zone. He's not going to get power up next turn just because of the fact that he's going to be out of my control range. But that's fine, because I'll just, if I need to, I can move Butcher a little closer into, and then, you know, use the feet, or move Butcher a little closer so that the following turn I can deal with it. He just won't be part of the fuel, which is fine. That means I'll fuel the other Juggernaut. But at least I'm contesting the zone with at least two Khador heavies. The top one actually has 2. The bottom one just has the Juggernaut. And then I have the Eliminator at the bottom go. I'm not really going to get much action out of her, but what am I going to end up doing is I'm going to kind of have her jump over so that she's contesting the flag, so he's not going to score on the flag again, and contesting the zone, so that way now my opponent's going to have to deal with both the Eliminator, killing the Eliminator and killing the Juggernaut in order to get that zone cleared and activated and scoring a point on. I'm not probably going to be able to prevent him from scoring the flag in his turn, but you know, that's one point. I can deal with the other, you know, after we move on from that. So the Eliminator goes in. Eliminator gets a little action done because, hey, you know, why not? And I'm just kind of lining myself up and going to wait for that Claw Wall to fall.
Okay, turn 3. I'm feeling in pretty good shape. I didn't lose anything that turn except for one Tuffalo, but losing a Tuffalo a turn doesn't seem like it's a very bad trade-off for me. And I lost 2. So lost 1 on turn 2, lost 2 on turn 3. Maybe on turn 4 I'll lose 3. Let's see how gutsy I get. So he was not able to clear that one Tuffalo in the top zone that is locking down both of his jacks, which was nice for me. So now I'm trying to figure out my options for how to take out that one jack in the lower zone. I feel that Horthol will have a good opportunity to take out the one Eliminator that's kind of hiding behind the trees, because Taodark actually kind of turned her so where she wouldn't be in the back arc of any of my guys, except for Horthol can still move enough to get into the back arc, and she wasn't in combat, so it was the lower defense, and he was able to smash her in the head and then reposition close enough to touch the flag. So no other models within 4, so Horthol is going to score me at least 1 more point there. Then the Glacier King is going to advance, and because of his Wind Thrower, he is going to end up shooting the jack. Now this is one thing that Taodark mentioned to me that I did not realize because I didn't read the entire card, is that when I hit an enemy model, it is pushed D3 inches directly away from him. And with him having reload 2, he's able to hit quite a few times. So I missed the first time. I hit the next 2 times, which pushed him all the way into the water. Too bad I didn't have a knockdown ability. But now I'm actually going to, you know, I'll have him. The Glacier King will once again score me another point. The Horthol is holding the flag, so that's a 4th point. Now I got to figure out: do I take out the jacks at the top? And that's when Taodark goes, well, you know, the objective can be killed. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what can I ever get to the objective to kill it? And he goes, well, what about those champions with Quicken? Because those things can get there. So I use the Fellcaller to give them Pathfinder, and then I give them the press forward order, and I have all those that can see the objective charge the objective, and those that can't run up, and they all get into base to base with each other, so that way they can do their defensive line if this all fails. So the first one goes in, does his thing. They all get 2 attacks. So POW 12 Weapon Masters, POW 13 with the stone, means 5 control points and a victory for Trolls. Thanks for watching.
So my afterthoughts for this game is actually, there's a couple of things I immediately recognized when I was playing the game. One is that when I deployed the Forge Seers on either end of my list, and since the Forge Seers are kind of a package deal with the Behemoth, they fuel the Behemoth with his 2 needed focus for shots, so that he's not a detriment to Butcher or any caster's focus pool. Having one on one side and one on the other meant that when they started activating and going off in their different directions for the purposes of allocating focus for the run, the that package got separated, so that Behemoth was like running around with only half of his focus that he needed. I ended up correcting that in turn 2, but it was something that didn't need to happen. The other thing is that on the tail end, when I was going through and trying to do the contesting, because there was a cloud wall and I wasn't getting much done, instead of sending over the Juggernaut to kill the second Tuffalo to give Ruin his second soul, instead of being greedy for that soul, what I should have done is actually run that Juggernaut into the zone, so that there would have been 2 Juggernauts in that zone, in that bottom zone, so that if the Glacier King did manage to knock one of the Juggernauts out, he wouldn't have knocked both out. Or if I had positioned them in such a way that one was in front of the other, the first one would have been stopped by the second one not leaving the zone. There just wasn't enough shots for him to shoot 2 Juggernauts out of the zone. That being said, it was a mistake on my part. My opponent took advantage of it, and we kind of sealed out the deal in the bottom of the round, where he ended up destroying the objective to win the points. Bad play on my part, and it's just something that I need to improve. Hope you enjoyed the video, and catch you on the flip side.